Hi everyone, hello and welcome to Landscape Modeling in Revit with Environment Tools. My name is Nehama and I'm going to be your host for this session. So thank you so much for joining us. A little bit about me. At the moment, I work for Arc Intelligence, the creators of Environment for Revit. But first and foremost, I present myself as a landscape architect. I have been working for many years in landscape architecture for firms, and I have experience taking part in various different types of landscape projects, from designing a backyard to area planning. I did it all with CAD and Excel and SketchUp and Lumion and Photoshop and Civil and back again. And so actually, once I had my firstborn, I decided to change things around, and I really quit my job to be able to learn Revit, since my boss didn't want the firm to go to Revit. So I left everything and started to learn Revit. Today, I'm also teaching Revit for landscape architects. This is actually the first educational academic program for landscape architects here. And hopefully, after this session, I will save you all the workarounds and struggles that I had to go through before learning about environment for Revit. A little bit about you guys. So if you're watching this session, you're probably either a landscape architect or a BIM manager working with landscape architects, or either maybe you're an architect planning sites. Whatever you are, if you are interested in modeling the outdoors in Revit, you are in the right place. And hopefully by the end of this session, you will say to yourself, I found it. I found the right tools. Now I know how to model landscape in Revit. Today, we're going to go through some of the most important topics and issues about modeling landscape in Revit. We're not going to have the time to go through everything, so I do invite you to visit our website and to see more detailed workflows and more detailed instructions. We will go through some basic tools for modeling topographies, using contour lines, modeling sloped hardscapes in Revit, walls, and also we're going to go through some essential tips for modeling planting in Revit. So there's a lot to go through. Let's start. I would actually want to start by asking the question, why Revit for landscape? And when you're looking for the best software for you to model your landscape, there are a few main things that you want to see in your software. So the first one is high technical capabilities. And of course, Revit is a very powerful tool for that. Revit is very strong, is a very strong software, and it really reorganizes your entire project. So the second thing is to have a really good collaboration tool, and Revit is all about collaboration, whether it's within Revit itself or using BIM 360. Revit is one of the best collaboration tools out there. But let's face it, when you're looking for discipline appropriate tools, Revit is not so friendly with landscape architecture. And there are a lot of landscape firms that are successfully implemented Revit already, but oftentimes they use very complex workarounds, and also they use additional software like Dynamo or Civil, which landscape architects, they don't really like it. It requires them to learn more and more software. And this is actually the problem that we were trying to solve. So we created the environment tab within Revit. This tab is your go-to for anything and everything regarding the outdoors. You can see that it's designed as a natural extension to Revit. So you will feel both at home in Revit, but in your environment tab. When we started environment about 4 years ago, we had few main goals. The first and most important one was to enable landscape architects to design the entire project within Revit without using any auxiliary softwares. But we also wanted to create a really fun and flexible workflow, so you would be able to feel like you're really sculpturing the landscape. Another thing that was really important for us is the accuracy of the model, since, in the future, your model would probably be uploaded to some sort of machine that would print or model the landscape. So being accurate is really part of the BIM revolution. And the other thing is having a seamless integration with Revit. We are working with the Revit logic, with the Revit categories, and everything has to feel natural within Revit. So I'm glad to say that about 2 years ago, we've already achieved these 4 goals. And ever since then, we're continuing to develop new tools to streamline the work. So we're getting more sophisticated and more efficient with the work. With that being said, let's start to touch the main issues, prevailing topics that we want to talk about today. We're going to start by talking about topographies and gradings, slopes and gradings. Cut it. We're going to start by talking about slopes and grading. Now, whenever people talk about landscape in Revit, they're talking about topographies. But for us, we are talking about softscape and hardscape. So the main categories that we like to use are both topographies and slabs. Now, both topographies and slabs are really good categories and tools in Revit, and they can get to a very high accuracy level. But often in landscape, you can find softscapes or hardscapes, surfaces or floors that contain even thousands of points. And Revit native tools only allow you to place each point manually. So the entire process can be really time consuming and really hard. When you go to Environment tab in Revit, you can see that we really extended the amount of tools that you have within Revit to be able to deal with these categories and to design sloped elements, whether it's softscape or hardscape within Revit. So saying that, let's jump into Revit and see a few examples of our really amazing and powerful tools for designing slopes. So here we are in Revit, and I prepared ahead a few examples to show you our tools. So let's go to the first example over here. You can see this little walkway, this path leading to a house, let's imagine, or something like that. Let's go to 3D view and take a look at it. So what I want to do now, I actually want to create a topography to connect to overcome the height differences between both paths. So we're going to start with the first command. This is one of my favorites. It's called surface from edge, and it does exactly what it says it's going to do. Let's click on surface from edge over here. And you see this one window opened. Let's create a new topography. Now this one will actually create a topo surface from the edges of the model. I have to say, it will create topo surfaces from any model edges, whether it's a linked model, a linked CAD model, even model lines. So anything in your model you can touch and create a topography. So let's see how it works. So I have this walkway over here, and I will touch this one and this edge and this one over here, and let's extend it all the way. There we go. Let's click apply, and we have our topography. Let me just click on that topography and click edit surface. So you can see that what we have is actually a regular Revit topography, and Environment basically automated the process of placing these elevation points along the same edges that I touched. So as I said before, it's very important to us that anyone would be able to edit your files. Collaboration. Okay, so now that we saw how to create topo surfaces from model edges, we want to see how to create topo surfaces from model lines, since this is pretty standard for landscape architects. They like to look at their project on a 2D view from AutoCAD. And this is actually a pretty important part in the design process. So for that, we have decided to use Revit's model lines, since model lines are 3-dimensional lines, but as you can see, they are flat. So what I want to do is to actually assign elevation to these model lines. And this is a really good example to show you how even within Environment, you have more than one way of doing every task. So I will show you the flexibility and the different ways. To assign elevation to these contour lines, let's just go to Environment tab and to the Model Line panel over here. So let's say I want to start with 5 meters elevation and then to just go every 50 centimeters with the increment. And now you will see the magic. Let me just go here to the set elevation by crossing. And as easy as 1, 2, you can see that my model lines changed their color. This is to tell me that their elevation has changed. Let's go to 3D view and see the changes. So as you can see over here, they're nicely set in their correct elevation. But oh my God, I just forgot one line. Well, that's actually a good opportunity for me to show you a different method of assigning elevation to model lines. So I'm going to go over here to this check elevation tool, which actually does exactly what it says. It's going to show you the elevation of model lines. You can see this one is in 0. And I also have the option to check elevation by crossing, just like the set elevation. So again, 1, 2, and you can see the elevation of every model line in your plan view. Now, these text labels are actually linked to every model line. And so by changing the text itself, I can actually change the elevation of each model line. Let's go back to 3D view and you can see how nicely they are arranged in the space. Now, what am I going to do with these contour lines? I'm going to create a topography from them. So let's just select all these lines and go again to environment, my favorite place in Revit, and click on create surface. So again, as easy as 1, 2, 3, we got a topography. If I select this topography and go to edit surface, you can see that environment actually automated the process of assigning elevation points to this topography on top of each model line that I created. So again, streamlining the process and saving you time. So we saw these really nice 2 examples of creating a topo surface from model edges. And then we saw how to create a topo surface from model lines. But what if we want to create a topo surface from model lines that are snapping to model edges? Well, you're correct. We go again to Environment tab. This is actually one of our newest features. And again, another personal favorite. So it's called Snap Work Plane. And to understand that, it's better to see what it's doing. So once I click on this feature, you can see I got this dot over here. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to snap to the edges of the stairs over here. And once I did that, Environment creates a reference plane. You can see it on the side. It's flat and it snaps to the same elevation that I just touched. Now, I can just go here and you can see that all the sketch tools are open, native Revit sketch tools. And let's select this line. So once I draw this model line, it will automatically be located in the correct elevation that I want. So let's create something beautiful over here. Click escape, escape again, and then I have my point back. Let's do it a couple more times. So again, I click on a spot, I get my reference plane, and now I can just create this beautiful contour line. And you can see that the place where my reference plane combines with my road, it's really a reference for me to understand where should this contour line connect. And then let's do it a couple more times. So one time over here, clicking, reference plane snaps to this elevation. And now I can create this beautiful contour line over here. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, and connect to the road. And again, for the bottom of these stairs. So let's take 1, go to the spline tool, and let's connect it. 1 second, 1, 2. And you know what, with your permission, I'm just going to do it one more time so we will really get this beautiful result I want you to see. Here I have my dots. I'm touching the edge of the stairs. And again, let's take the spline and create just one last beautiful, beautiful contour line that would just connect over here. Yeah, it's just going to go to the same place. Once I click escape, and let's go look at it in a 3D view, you can see they're perfectly located in place. And now you guessed right. I'm just going to select all these model lines, not you, buddy, and go to environment, create surface. Oops, 1 second. Let me select all of them. 1, 2, 3. And then go to environment and create surface. Now you can see that the surface that was created is not so beautiful because Revit actually connects the dot and it doesn't allow us to create a topography by boundary. So the solution to this issue is really simple. Of course, it's in environment tab. Let's go again to surface from edge, but this time I'm going to select edit existing and select this topography over here. So you can see I got the same window again. Let's add 5 centimeters to the elevation of the topography that I'll create. And just start selecting the edges over here. And maybe the edge of the staircase. And this one. Click apply. And there you go. We have this perfect, beautiful topography over here. So we saw these 3 examples of creating surface from edge, surface from model lines, and surface from model lines that are snapping to model edges. Now I actually want to take you 1 step further and show you how all of these are combining into a beautiful workflow. So if we go here to another file that I've prepared, you can see this little park with these linked buildings over here. Yeah, this is the buildings of the architect, and I also have a linked CAD file from the road engineer. And if we go to plan view, you can see that I've already drawn my path, my walkway, and it's flat. And then I already have my model lines ready. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to select these model lines and create a topography from them. Let's go to 3D again. And now I want to do another thing. I actually want my slopes to connect with the entrances to the architect building. So let's go again to surface from edge, edit existing, select this topography. And now I want you to see how nicely I can actually select the floor in the entrance to the linked file. So environment really makes it easier for us to collaborate with architects and road engineers using these tools. Let's click apply right now. And I'll show you just the reason why I created this topo surface and why my walkway is actually flat. So now we're going to see our most used tool. Let's select the floor over here and select the topography. And now we're going to go to environment and see the shape by topography tool. So the shape by topography tool basically drapes slabs, whether it's a roof or a floor, over a topography. You can see you have many parameters and options you can change over here. And we're not going to go through each and every one of them, but you are welcome to see everything on our YouTube channel. So let's click OK right now. And basically environment is going to automate the process of modify sub elements. So it's going to add the elevation points to this floor, as you can see right now, on top of the topography. Now, just a side note, we usually do preserve these topographies in the file, not for scheduling purposes, but to be able to edit or re-edit our slabs if you want later on. So we actually have a dedicated view filter for that. So now let me just hide the topography and hide this auxiliary line. And there you go. We have the complete model over here. Let's go to plan view and just see a couple more comments to just finish up and make it into a really good document, right? A really good plan view. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you another really nice command that's called slab contours. And what it's doing is exactly what it promises to do. Let me select all these floors and click finish. And now it's going to assign contour lines onto these slabs. So let's say I want them to show every 25 centimeters. And I already have a dedicated line style for that purpose, and click OK. And that's it. You see, I have contour lines on top of my slabs. These are actually model lines and they're dynamic. So if I change my floors, they will change with it. And so to wrap it up, let's use again check elevation by crossing 1, 2, and then 1, 2. And again, I could do it for my entire plan view. So yes, this is just one amazing workflow showing you how to create these topographies and gradings. Let's go back to the slideshow once again. So we saw how to create topographies and gradings. We saw how to design our model, but also how to present it correctly in different views. And now we're going to go to our next topic, which is walls in Revit. So some of you might not know that's an issue, but it's a little bit of an issue, and let me show you. So actually walls are another really good category in Revit. They allow us to show and present and manage a lot of information. But Revit walls are meant to go from one building floor to another. So they're meant to go between flat levels. But in landscape architecture, our level is the terrain and it's never flat, it's always amorphic. So to design walls like this, you would actually have to build every section of the wall separately and do the calculations of what you want the elevation to be in each part of the wall. And also, once you want to add some fences on this wall, again, every elevation, every sequence of fences would have to be modeled separately. So that's not really an issue, but it's really time consuming. And again, we're here to make your life better and to streamline the entire process. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you some of our amazing tools for designing and modeling retaining walls in Revit. So the first tool we're going to see is Arrange Wall tool, which basically models the wall for you along this slope. We're going to see the wall railing tool, and we're going to see the wall layout tool, which basically creates the construction document for you. So let's jump into Revit right now. And I want to show you this little situation we prepared ahead. So in this situation, you can see that we have this park over here and the road over here, and we need to overcome them using the retaining wall. The regular process would be to just go to this wall over here and start dividing it into sections and then assign elevation to each section according to the elevation that I see over here and over here, and then go to 3D view and correct all my mistakes. So instead of doing that, we actually developed the Arrange Wall tool, which is really our one of our first tools. It's a very sophisticated algorithm. And again, instead of telling you what it does, let me just show you how this feature can really do all the work for you and just leave you thinking about how to design, which is what we do best. So what I did over here, I selected the walls. I click on Arrange Walls, and this window has opened. Again, I'm not going to go into each and every parameter. I'm just going to say it allows you to define the heights of the walls, the steps, the elevation steps between one part and another. And it also allows you to set certain length parameters. So you can really control many parameters of the wall. So let's say I'm okay with that. Let's change this one. The steps will be 50 centimeters and then click OK. So basically, environment is going to calculate the elevation in both sides of the wall. And in every part, the algorithm is going to determine which is lower and which is higher, and simply create this beautiful thing over here that you can see. So the base is modeled correctly along the slope, and the top is modeled correctly along the slope. And what's nice about this tool is not only that it saves you so much time, but it's also a tool to allow you to examine different design alternatives, because very easily I can tab select all this chain of walls and go back to environment arrange walls and, you know, just change one of my parameters and see if I like it or not. So again, this command can be used over and over again to examine different design situations, different design alternatives, and our algorithm really determines on its own what it should be like. So here we have another design alternative. I actually like the other one better. But let's go on with this one, because again, I want to show you how every one of our tools is really a part of a big picture, since again, we started as landscape architects. So we know we have to provide the answer for the entire process. So now I want to place railings on the wall. And again, as I said, in Revit, I would have to model each and every part separately. So I tab selected the entire chain of lines. And again, I go to environment and select wall railings. And let me just put this wall capping over here up. That's it. That's all I had to do. Okay. And I can just go on and also place some fences on my walls, and, you know, maybe give it some offset from the edges. Up. A second. Oh, I added another wall capping. Let's add a fence over here and click OK. There it is. All right. So you can see that I have these fences, and each part or each elevation sequence is a different fence element. That's how environment creates it. But if I want to edit the wall and change the elevations, then you can see that everything changes with it. Very smart. So we saw how to create this stepped wall. We saw how to assign fences and cappings on top of it very easily. And now I'm going to show you the last part of every design job, how to extract construction documents. Now, if you guys are not sitting, this is the time to sit. And if you're a landscape architect, I'm really sorry for all the lost hours you spent in the office. But for me, when I saw this one for the first time, I was blown away, because when you do these things in CAD, it takes you so much time, not to mention what happens when you have to update the design. So let's see what I'm talking about. So I tab selected all the walls, I go to environment, and I click on wall layout. Yes. And now I'm going to select the face of the wall that I want to show. And what's going to happen right now is that environment will actually create a new elevation view that shows me the unfolded view of the wall, as you can see right here. Now, this is a 2D view, and it's made of field regions. But if we select one of these field regions, you can see that the name of the field region is the same name as the wall type. Again, also about the fences, we have the same name as the fence type. So it really makes it easy for us to tag our view and just work with it as a regular view. But there are a few other advantages to this view. So first of all, you can see these 3 lines we have here. So this line you can see over here, it's the line of the ground in the back of the wall. You can see the red line over here, oh, one second, is the line of the ground in front of the wall. And this green line actually represents the existing surface. So I already have in my file, it was hidden because we were in a new construction phase, but this one was demolished in the existing phase. I had a topography over there, and environment knows how to recognize it. This is very important in landscape works, so we can actually see the previous phase topography in this view. Another really nice thing that we have in this view is that it's set in such a way that allows you to actually show the real elevations of your project. So even though it's a 2D view, every elevation over here is correct, and everything, of course, is according to your project units. So whatever, if you work in imperial and I work in meters, that's okay. You can work in imperial, it will be okay. Just like Revit, it inherits your project units. So there we have it, a complete wall workflow in just a few seconds. So let's go back to our presentation. And I know that was amazing, but I do want to go to our next topic. And You know, this is concerning a lot of landscape architects. I get a lot of questions about plantings in Revit. And I have to say before we start that Revit is actually a pretty efficient tool for designing plantings. So I have two very common questions that I get about planting plans in Revit. The first one is about the methods and graphics, so the overall approach on what Revit tools should I utilize for this purpose. And the second one is about the planting libraries, and I would actually like to start with the second one. So planting libraries. There are several approaches to this. So my approach, and if you already work in Revit, if you're a BIM manager, this is nothing for you. This is out of the box Revit tools. You could just take families, take different family types, different family of plantings, and just create different types. So you have your local custom-made family. The other approach is to just go online and see whatever. There are some really good planting libraries for Revit that are already out there. And if it fits to your geographical region, then that's perfectly fine. That's just my preference. So either of these is fine. Also, the planting libraries that are out there using Revit families. You can see that there are in this slide, you can see few different approaches on how we want these families to look like, how accurate you want it to look like. So yeah, you have plenty of options over here. And now I want to talk about the overall approach of how to design planting plans in Revit. So there are two main approaches. The first one is pretty easy. Again, if you already use Revit, if you're a BIM manager, this is nothing for you. You can see the area plan. This is very common actually in landscape. So also when we work in CAD, we use hatches. It's just that area plans in Revit are a lot more useful than hatches. It creates automatic schedules. And in this example over here, all we had to do is to add a shared parameter of density for each planting type. And then our tag automatically calculates the amount of plants we need to put in every little area. So it streamlines, Revit alone streamlines the entire process of planning plantings. Sometimes you do want to have a more detailed model that really shows every plant as a Revit family. Some people do it for 3D, to have a beautiful 3D model. And some people do it because that's how they design planting. They really like to see each and every plant. So to streamline this process, we actually have two amazing tools I want to show you. And these will be the last tools that we see for today. These are our scatter tool. Now, before we start, I want to say our scatter tools can work with every Revit family, but we created them with plantings in our mind, since again, we are landscape architects. So the first one I'm going to show you is the scatter area, which actually scatters Revit families by area. Anything can be an area, not only areas, and I'll show you this in a second. And the other one, and we're really proud of it, it's going to be in our next release, the line scatter, which actually is really sophisticated and amazing. You can see I actually created these rockery, beautiful rockery lines using this tool. And again, let's go to Revit and just see a really great example of this one. So yes, this is my planting file. If you like these families, you're welcome to go to our booth or to our website and talk to us. We are giving away everything. And so let's go to the planting plan over here. So what I actually do, if I want to create a really detailed planting plan, I create my design in a separate file, and then I link it into a different file that will be my planting design file, as you can see over here. And so you can see that all my areas, all the planting is designed by my areas. And let me show you how I created it. So, let's go over here and maybe delete this group of elements and recreate it so you can see. So I'm going to go to environment, area scatter. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to select the area. But again, I want to say that anything can be an area. So this floor can be an area. Topo surface can be an area, but also areas can be an area. Notice everything here is a linked file. So once I selected my designated area, I'll just click on Apply Selection. One second, let me just go to wireframe, click on Apply Selection, and now I'm going to have the same group as over here. So I'm going to use the pick on screen. So you can either pick a family from your screen, or, you know, all your families are just going to be here in this list. You can choose either way. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the distance between them. Now you can actually create these scatter elements according to an organized grid, or you could just do it freely to make it look like a forest or whatever. Really, again, there are a lot of options over here. Another thing I would advise you, if there is anything you're not sure how to do, you could just hover over our tools, click on F1, and you'll get to our website, to our user guide. So this will be really helpful for you. Now let's click apply over here and just see our group. Okay, so I did not like the distances between these plants. We can very easily change it, let's say to 30 centimeters over here. No, 1 second, 30 centimeters, and click apply. Yeah, that's too much. Let's change again to 40 centimeters and click apply. I'm going to stick with this one for now. And now once I click finish scatter, you can see I chose the option to create an assembly from that. Since it's going to be really easy for me to go again to the area scatter and then select scatter group, I can select this one and re-edit it again. So, okay, let's change the distances again, make it equal, and click apply again. So you see that's very useful. You can go back and edit everything. Now there's just one issue, and if you really know Revit, you probably guessed it already. Since we're working with a linked file, these planting families cannot be hosted on my topography. So of course, we already have a solution for that. In Environment tab, let's go to this Align to Surface tool, which basically aligns every object I choose to a specific surface. Let's just select all these plantings and click Finish. And now you can see I can change how it relates to the surface I select. Let's just select this one and this surface, and that's it. Let's click OK and go back to 3D view, and you can see how it's hosted on my topography. This is the little group I created over here. I know that's amazing, but wait, there's a little bit more. So I still want to show you the scatter by line tools. Let's just create hedges around this walkway. So let's go to the area scatter, line scatter. And now this tool actually works by either selecting a specific line that you drew, or just in the command, draw a line. You can see that the sketch tools are open. And now I'm going to select the pick line tool and just give it a bit of an offset. So I want to place my plantings around this walkway. Now I'm just going to cut it like that. Okay, so now I'm going to click on Apply Path. And again, I can pick one of the plants from the screen over here. And you can see it's assigned over here. And now I'm going to click Apply just to see what it looks like. So we see 30 centimeters is a bit much. I can easily change it to 60. Click Apply. Yeah, that's a lot nicer. And again, over here, I can combine these elements to just go back and edit them if I feel like I need to. You can change the families, you can change the way they're arranged. It's really, really, again, very flexible. Let's click on Finish Scatter. And again, I will select Align to Surface and select all these plants. So when you're actually doing it on your real model, my advice would be to model the entire plantings and then host them on the surface all at once. Let's click Finish, select this topo surface and this floor just in case, and click OK. Let's go back to 3D view. And you can see our nice shrubs around. It's actually more like a native grasses over here. And And you know, this tool can be very easily used for maybe aligning lampposts or trees. So again, we can do line scatter, just draw a path on top of these planting pits of the street. Escape, apply path, and then let's just select one of these trees. Pick on screen, I'm gonna pick this tree. And then these ones should be maybe 10 meters apart. Let's do apply. Yeah, they're currently under my surface, so I don't see it. Let me just guess that it's correct. Finish scatter. Let's do wireframe. Yes, they're pretty much correct. Maybe I can edit them. So again, line scatter, select existing. I'm going to select this group, apply selection. And then I'm just going to change the distances between them. Or you know what, maybe I'm going to change the path a little bit. Okay. You need to cut it. So I'm going to cancel. Please. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So all I have to do now is to assign the elevation to these trees. Let's click on Align to Surface, select all these trees, finish, and then I will select both the sidewalk and these tree pits since it wasn't correctly, but since our time is short, I'm going to cut it short and go back to showing you some other things. So you can see my trees are perfectly hosted on my linked model. Yeah, and these were some really good examples of these tools. Let me just go back to my slide. 1 second over here. So actually we had the option to check some tools for modeling landscape, modeling topographies, sloped hardscape. We also saw the tools for streamlining the entire retaining wall job, and tools for scattering elements, mostly plantings, but all elements. Our time is short, but I have to tell you, there are so much more tools out there in environment that can really streamline your work and make your life a lot easier. So we really extended the abilities of Revit, again, using only Revit native categories. So a few examples just to wrap it up. We have tools to improve the collaboration between Revit and CAD. So for example, you're able to have a linked CAD and extract CAD blocks and turn them into Revit families very, very easily. We also have tools to streamline the work with some site elements like placing curbs. So you can have out-of-the-box curbs from our environment tab, or some out-of-the-box rocks to create rockery elements. And you can also create advanced site analyses like slope analysis or elevation analysis, which if you're a landscape architect, you know how important it is in the beginning of a project to just be able to assess how much it's going to cost me. So with that being said, I invite you to go to our website, to go to our YouTube channel, and take a look at everything you can see. So if I want one thing that you will remember from this session is that whenever you're modeling sites in Revit and you're stuck in a very, very difficult task, just go to the environment tab and see. We probably have something to help you with this task. Thank you so much for listening.